On June 12, 2026, Elon Musk did something no person in modern history had ever done. He officially became the world's first confirmed trillionaire. Major news organizations reported that the SpaceX IPO had pushed Elon Musk's net worth above $1 trillion. Not 1 billion, not 100 billion, 1 trillion. A fortune so large that most people cannot even picture it. At that scale, Elon Musk's personal fortune exceeded the annual economic output of more than 170 countries around the world. A million seconds is about 11 days. A billion seconds is about 31 years. A trillion seconds is more than 31,000 years. But here's what makes the story strange. Elon Musk didn't inherit an empire. He didn't discover oil. He didn't own a giant bank. And he didn't get rich by dominating a single industry. Instead, he positioned himself at the center of 5 of the most important industries on Earth: electric cars, space travel, artificial intelligence, robotics, and global communications. Today, hundreds of millions of people use products, services, or technologies connected to companies he helped build. That raises a much bigger question than how much money he has. Why Elon? Why was he the one person who ended up owning pieces of the emerging world? After all, thousands of smart people saw the internet arrive. Thousands saw electric cars. Thousands saw artificial intelligence. Yet somehow, Elon kept showing up at the exact center of the biggest opportunities of the century. Was it luck? Was it timing? Or did he see something that everyone else missed? Because the strategy that made him the world's first trillionaire did not begin with Tesla. It did not begin with SpaceX. And it certainly did not begin after he became famous. The real story starts decades earlier, with a lonely boy who spent more time reading science fiction than talking to other people. A boy who became obsessed with one question that would shape the rest of his life. What does the future look like? And how do you get there first? Long before Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire, he was just a quiet kid growing up in South Africa. Born on June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa, Elon entered a world that looked very different from the one he would eventually help build. And by most accounts, it was not a happy childhood. He often felt alone. School was difficult. He was bullied so badly that he sometimes ended up in the hospital. While other kids spent their time playing sports or hanging out with friends, Elon spent countless hours reading. Books became his escape, but they also became something much more important. They became his window into civilization's next phase. He read everything he could get his hands on: science fiction, fantasy, technology, space exploration. The stories filled his head with ideas far bigger than the world around him. Even as a child, those ideas were beginning to turn into action. At age 12, Elon taught himself computer programming and created a simple video game called Blaster. Then he sold it for about $500. It was not a huge amount of money, but revealed something important. For the first time, he saw that an idea inside his head could become something real. A product, a business, a source of value. It was a small moment that hinted at a much bigger emerging world of possibilities. Most children dream about what job they might have one day. Elon dreamed about entire civilizations. While other kids imagined driving cars, he imagined building cities on Mars. While others thought about making a living, he thought about changing the long-term direction of humanity. That difference would shape everything that came later. What made Elon unusual wasn't that he wanted to become rich, because even then, he was not chasing money. He was chasing missions. In fact, money barely appeared in his early dreams at all. His obsession was scale. He was fascinated by giant problems and giant solutions. Most entrepreneurs dream of starting successful companies. Elon became obsessed with changing entire systems: transportation, energy, communication, even life beyond Earth. At the time, those ideas sounded ridiculous. But years of feeling disconnected from the people around him had an unexpected effect. He became comfortable being different, comfortable believing things that other people laughed at, comfortable pursuing ideas that seemed impossible. That may sound small, but it became one of his greatest advantages. Because every breakthrough that later made him billions of dollars started as an idea that most people dismissed. The bullying, the isolation, the endless hours spent reading. They were quietly preparing him for a future where almost everyone would tell him he was wrong. And he would keep going anyway. But imagination alone doesn't build companies. Dreams alone don't create fortunes. Millions of people have big ideas. Very few turn them into reality. As he grew older, Elon began looking for ways to turn those ambitions into action. After leaving South Africa, he moved to Canada and attended Queen's University before transferring to the University of Pennsylvania, where he earned degrees in physics and economics. He was later accepted into a PhD program at Stanford University. But something unusual was happening. A technological shift was beginning to reshape the world. Elon sensed that the biggest opportunities were no longer inside classrooms. They were emerging outside them. So after only a short time at Stanford, he left and entered the business world. It was a decision that would change the course of his life. Because the future Elon had imagined as a child was finally beginning to appear in the real world. A strange new technology was spreading across the globe. It was called the Internet. Most people saw it as a useful tool. Elon saw something much bigger. Today, that sounds obvious. But at the time, very few people understood what it would become. Most people saw simple websites, a few pages of text, some pictures, maybe a way to send messages faster. Many business leaders ignored it completely. Others thought it was just another passing trend that would fade away like so many technologies before it. To them, the internet looked small, uncertain, speculative. But Elon saw something different. He wasn't looking at websites. He was looking at what websites would eventually connect. People, businesses, money, information, entire industries. While others saw a tool, Elon saw infrastructure. He believed the internet would do more than improve the economy. He believed it would rebuild the economy from the ground up. That was the insight most people missed. Throughout history, every major technological shift has created new gatekeepers. Railroads created transportation giants. Oil created energy ecosystems. Television created media giants. And now the internet was creating an entirely new world. The people who built the roads of that world could become incredibly powerful. Elon understood that before most people even realized the race had started. He wasn't asking how to use the internet. He was asking how to build on top of it. That question changed everything. Because once you believe an entire economic system is being rebuilt, ordinary opportunities no longer look very exciting. A normal job wasn't enough. A safe career wasn't enough. Even a successful business wasn't enough. Elon wanted to be part of the foundation. He wanted to help build the next era itself. And timing mattered. The internet was still young. The rules had not been written. The biggest winners had not yet emerged. For someone willing to take risks, the opportunity was enormous. But opportunities alone do not create fortunes. Many people recognized that the internet was important. Very few were willing to risk everything on that belief. Seeing the opportunity was one thing. Betting everything on it was another. Believing in civilization's next phase was one thing. Building a company around that belief was another. In the mid-1990s, Elon Musk made his first major bet. He and his brother started a small company called Zip2. Today, startup founders can launch businesses from laptops and coffee shops. Back then, it was much harder. The internet was still new. Investors were skeptical. Customers were unsure. Nobody knew which companies would survive. Money was always tight. To save every dollar possible, Elon practically lived at the office. He slept there, worked there, and showered in a nearby gym. During the day, he wrote code. At night, he wrote more code. Then he kept going. There were moments when the company looked like it might fail completely. Bills piled up. The future was uncertain, and success was far from guaranteed. But slowly, things began to change. Businesses started realizing they needed an online presence. More customers arrived. More investors became interested. Then came the breakthrough. In 1999, Zip2 was sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. Elon walked away with millions. For most people, that would have been the finish line. Financial freedom, a nice house, a comfortable life. But Elon wasn't interested in comfort. He was interested in scale. Instead of protecting his new wealth, he put much of it back on the table. Then came his next venture, X.com. The idea sounded strange at the time. Elon believed money itself would move online. Banking, payments, transfers, all through the internet. Many people thought it was risky. Others thought it was impossible. But once again, Elon was looking further ahead than most people. X.com eventually evolved into a company called PayPal. And when PayPal was sold to eBay in 2002, Elon earned a fortune that changed his life forever. Suddenly, he had more money than he had ever imagined as a child. But what mattered to him wasn't the payout. It was what came next. Most people would have protected their new wealth. Elon saw it as capital for a much larger mission. Most entrepreneurs spend years trying to get rich. Elon treated wealth as fuel, not a destination. The PayPal sale gave him capital. What he built next gave him an advantage that almost nobody else had. The PayPal sale gave Elon Musk something most entrepreneurs never get: a second chance. He now had enough money to spend the rest of his life in comfort. Instead, he risked almost all of it. That decision reveals why Elon kept winning when so many successful founders stopped growing. Most billionaires focus on one industry. They find a winning business and spend decades defending it. Elon did the opposite. He went looking for the biggest problems he could find. And he noticed something strange. Some of the most important industries on Earth had barely changed in decades. Cars still worked, much like they always had. Rocket launches were still painfully expensive. Energy storage remained limited. Artificial intelligence had not yet entered the mainstream. These weren't small markets. They were systems that modern civilization depended on, and many of them were full of inefficiencies. This is where Elon developed his biggest advantage. It wasn't simply intelligence. It was the way he approached problems. Most companies start with what already exists. They study competitors. They copy successful ideas. Then they try to improve them a little. Elon worked backwards. He broke problems down into their most basic parts and rebuilt them from scratch. This way of thinking is called first principles thinking, and it changed everything. Take rockets. For decades, governments and private companies accepted one simple fact: rocket launches were expensive. That was just the way things were. But Elon kept asking a question nobody else seemed interested in asking. Why? Why should rockets be thrown away after one launch? Why couldn't they be reused? The idea sounded ridiculous. Many experts laughed at it. But if rockets could be reused, the cost of reaching space could fall dramatically. That single insight became the foundation of SpaceX. And it revealed a pattern that would appear again and again throughout Elon's career. He wasn't chasing trends. He wasn't chasing markets. He was attacking inefficiencies that everyone else had accepted. Each time he solved one, he unlocked a new opportunity. And as Tesla grew, SpaceX advanced, and new ventures emerged. Those advantages began feeding each other. What looked like separate companies were slowly becoming something much larger. Soon, those advantages would begin compounding at a scale few people understood. By the late 2000s, Elon Musk was running out of money. Tesla was struggling to survive. SpaceX had suffered multiple rocket failures. Both companies were burning through cash at an alarming rate. For a moment, it looked like everything he had built might disappear. Years of work seemed ready to collapse. Then came one final chance. SpaceX launched another rocket. If this mission failed, the company might die. The countdown began. The rocket lifted off. This time it worked. Then everything changed. SpaceX finally achieved a successful launch. Soon after, it won a major contract from NASA. The company that many experts had dismissed was suddenly being trusted to help carry the technological transition of American spaceflight. At the same time, Tesla began proving that electric cars could be more than a niche product. They could be fast, desirable, and profitable. What followed was one of the most dramatic rises in modern business history. Tesla grew from a risky startup into the world's most valuable automaker by market capitalization. SpaceX became the leading commercial launch provider by launch volume. Then came Starlink. Thousands of satellites were launched into orbit, creating a global communications network that could reach places traditional internet providers could not. The network of companies kept expanding. Neuralink began developing brain-computer interface technology. Then came XAI, Elon's attempt to compete in the rapidly growing field of artificial intelligence. At first, these companies looked unrelated. Cars, rockets, satellites, artificial intelligence, brain technology. But when you looked closer, a pattern emerged. Each company strengthened the others. SpaceX launched Starlink satellites. Artificial intelligence could improve robotics. Energy technology supported transportation. The pieces were beginning to connect. What once looked like separate businesses was becoming an ecosystem built around the technologies of the coming decades. And with every success, the reach of his companies expanded. So did the resistance. But success also attracted criticism. Some critics argued that Tesla was overvalued. Others questioned whether SpaceX could justify its growing valuation. As Elon became more powerful, people increasingly disagreed about whether he was a visionary building the emerging world or simply benefiting from market optimism. Short sellers bet against his companies. Competitors attacked his ideas. Governments increased scrutiny. Regulators asked tougher questions. The media followed his every move. Some saw him as a visionary. Others saw him as a threat. The larger his network of companies became, the more enemies it created. And for years, Elon seemed unstoppable. But every empire eventually faces a moment of reckoning. And then came the period when it looked like everything might collapse. The higher Elon Musk climbed, the more dangerous the fall became. By now, he wasn't managing one company. He was managing an entire network of businesses, each facing enormous pressure. Then came a new challenge. In 2022, Elon bought Twitter, later renamed X. The deal shocked investors. Some advertisers left the platform. Critics accused Musk of creating instability. Supporters argued he was defending free expression. The acquisition became one of the most divisive business decisions of his career. Many believed he was taking on too much at once. Others worried he was risking his reputation, his focus, and even parts of his fortune. As controversy surrounded the platform, criticism exploded. Political leaders attacked him. Critics also pointed to controversial public statements, management decisions, and his increasingly visible role in political debates. To supporters, he was challenging established systems. To critics, he was becoming too influential. Media outlets scrutinized his decisions. The pressure kept growing. Then the economy turned against him. Rising interest rates shook financial markets. Technology stocks fell. Tesla's share price suffered major declines. At one point, hundreds of billions of dollars in market value disappeared. On paper, Elon lost enormous amounts of wealth. For someone who viewed wealth as fuel rather than a destination, the setback was painful, but it did not change the mission. For critics, it looked like the beginning of the end. Investors grew nervous. Competitors sensed weakness. Questions began spreading across Wall Street. Had Elon finally gone too far? Had the empire become too large to manage? For the first time in years, failure felt possible. Not just for Tesla, not just for X, but for the entire network of companies that had made him one of the most powerful people in the world. And that was what made this period so dangerous. The threats were no longer coming from one direction. They were coming from everywhere at once. Financial pressure, political pressure, public pressure, business pressure. The future suddenly looked uncertain. Yet history had shown something interesting about Elon Musk. Whenever people believed he was finished, he found a way to reinvent the game. And to survive this new chapter, he would have to evolve once again. The Elon Musk who became the world's first trillionaire is very different from the young entrepreneur who founded Zip2. Back then, he was trying to build a company. Today, some experts say that he is trying to build systems that could shape the direction of civilization. That shift changed everything. Over time, Elon stopped thinking like a startup founder. He started thinking like an architect. An architect doesn't focus on one building. He focuses on how everything connects. And that is exactly what began happening across Musk's empire. Tesla was no longer just a car company. SpaceX was no longer just a rocket company. Starlink was no longer just an internet service. Each company became part of a much larger vision. A vision built around the technologies that could define the next century. Artificial intelligence became one of his biggest priorities, not because it was popular, because he believed it could become one of the most powerful forces in human history. Then came humanoid robots, machines designed to perform tasks that millions of people currently do every day. If successful, they could transform entire industries. At the same time, Starlink continued expanding its global communications network, connecting places that traditional systems struggled to reach. And above it all remained Musk's oldest dream: space. Not simply launching rockets, but eventually helping humanity become a multi-planet species. What makes this transformation so important is that the companies themselves have changed. They're no longer just businesses competing for customers. They are becoming platforms that influence entire industries. Transportation, communication, artificial intelligence, energy, space exploration. The goal is no longer to build successful companies. The goal is to shape the direction of the emerging world itself. And whether people admire Elon Musk or criticize him, that is what makes his story so unusual. Most entrepreneurs spend their lives chasing opportunities. Elon spent decades trying to position himself where the biggest changes were likely to happen. And as those changes accelerated, so did his influence. Which brings us to the final chapter. Because becoming the world's first trillionaire is impressive. But the money is not the most important part of the story. What matters is what that journey tells us about how wealth, power, and the emerging world are created. And that's what makes the final chapter so important. Elon Musk has become the world's first confirmed trillionaire. That fact alone would have sounded impossible just a few decades ago. A quiet boy from South Africa, a teenager obsessed with science fiction, a young entrepreneur sleeping on office floors. And now, the first person in history to cross the $1 trillion mark. But that isn't the most important part of the story. The real story is how he got there. Again and again, he treated wealth as fuel, not a destination. For generations, the world's richest people built their fortunes by dominating a single industry. Railroads, oil, banking, retail. They found one powerful market and became kings of it. Elon Musk followed a different path. Instead of focusing on one industry, he positioned himself where several emerging industries collided. Electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, energy, communications, space. As those industries expanded, so did his influence. That is why his fortune grew to a scale never seen before. He wasn't simply building companies. He was building bridges into the next era. And in the process, he helped reshape some of the most important industries on Earth. Tesla accelerated the move toward electric transportation. SpaceX transformed the economics of space travel. Starlink changed how people connect across the globe. His companies became increasingly involved in AI and robotics as those technologies enter the mainstream. Whether people admire him or criticize him, the impact is impossible to ignore. That impact remains heavily debated. Some people see Elon Musk as one of the greatest innovators of modern times. Others believe his growing influence over technology, communications, and artificial intelligence raises important questions about power and accountability. Regardless of where people stand, few would argue that he changed the direction of multiple industries. Whether viewed as a visionary, a controversial figure, or something in between, Elon Musk has become one of the most influential entrepreneurs of the modern era. And hidden inside that story is a lesson. Small thinking creates small results. Big thinking creates big possibilities. Elon Musk did not become the world's first trillionaire by focusing on what existed. He focused on what could exist. While most people were looking at the world as it was, he spent decades preparing for the world as it was becoming. The biggest fortunes rarely come from following trends. They usually come from spotting major changes before everyone else sees them. Most people focus on what is popular today. The biggest winners often focus on what could become important 20 years from now. That doesn't guarantee success, but it dramatically changes the size of the opportunity. And if artificial intelligence, robotics, clean energy, and space become as important as many believe they will, then Elon Musk's $1 trillion achievement may be only the beginning. Not just for him, but for the entire emerging world economy now being built around those technologies. Because in the end, Elon Musk's greatest accomplishment may not be becoming the world's first trillionaire. It may be proving that the largest fortunes are created by understanding where the world is going before everyone else gets there. And that raises one final question. What massive shift is happening right now that most people still cannot see? If one overlooked insight helped build a $1 trillion fortune, imagine how many other hidden forces are shaping the world around us today. The next $1 trillion idea may already exist. The next industry-changing breakthrough may already be taking shape. And the next person who changes the world may be preparing for it right now, while everyone else is looking the other way. Subscribe for the next story, because the future always leaves clues. And together, we'll identify them before they become obvious to everyone else.